in Surrey.
Good morning. Well, let me introduce you to Jill, as they've called this fox. She's extremely lucky because although she was dragged from her foxhole, she was kept alive as a pet. Didn't make a good pet, ended up at this wildlife hospital, the Hydestar Wildlife Hospital. Not all foxes are so lucky because the barbaric form of hunting, terrier hunting, means that the dogs are sent down the holes, they bring the foxes out and then rip them apart for their sport, even if the fox might be pregnant or with cubs. The RSPCA estimate that up to 50,000 foxes are killed in this way each year, and what's perhaps more shocking is that it's perfectly legal, because while badgers are protected from such cruelty, foxes like Jill, I think we'll put her down there, could be killed quite legally if she's killed with hounds. And it's a side of fox hunting that the public doesn't normally see. But we've got some footage, and be warned, we've edited it, but these pictures might shock you. Those images there, so proudly filmed by the terrier hunters themselves, and there were plenty more pictures, but they were far too sadistic and frankly disgusting to be able to put out on television. Well, inside this fox enclosure, someone who knows only too well the end results of terrier hunting, Graham Cornick, what do you make of this?
The whole lot of hunting is a disgusting issue anyway, but there's two sides. There's the cub hunting, which is happening now, and that's absolutely barbaric, and also the terrier work, which is even more evil if it was possible. And those dig-outs can last for hours and hours. And certainly I've witnessed that there's one in particular that lasted 8 hours before the animal was actually so-called humanely dispatched.
Is there not some justification in terms of vermin control?
The fox has never ever been on any pest list. And if it be this is the way that you deal with a pest, I think it's the most dirty, barbaric way ever. And it really should be outlawed.
And Graham, thank you very much for your view. So, should be outlawed. There is a chance coming up to change the law on the statutes on this. And certainly any foxes that end up here are the lucky ones. Most of them are dragged from their foxholes and just ripped apart. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks very much, Sue. With me is Janet George from the Countryside Alliance, who defends fox hunting, and in our Cardiff studio is Clifford Pellow, who's spent 25 years hunting foxes before giving it up. First of all, Janet George, explain the connection between terrier work and fox hunting.
Well, I think in the piece we've just seen, there's a great confusion between legitimate terrier work as a form of pest control and the activities of fox baiters, who are not actually acting either through pest control for pest control purposes. They're acting in some sort of sadistic sport, usually without the landowner's consent, and that sort of activity is already illegal. The chief problem is in finding them, because nobody's interested. The police aren't interested. The mainstream animal welfare organisations don't appear to be interested. They would far go after legitimate field sports and things that are already out in the open and totally justifiable. So, you know, hunting as a sport exists because of the goodwill of the landowners, and that is because it provides a level of fox control service. It is not based in baiting animals or gratuitous cruelty, and the legislation already exists to prevent gratuitous cruelty.
The terriermen, though, are they not used to flush out foxes for the hunt?
There are very strict rules governing terrier work, and basically if a fox goes to ground, it can only be dug up and shot for control purposes at the request of the landowner, otherwise it's left alone.
Right, Clifford Pellow, you hunted foxes for almost 25 years. Why did you stop?
Sorry?
Excuse me. You hunted foxes for almost 25 years, didn't you?
I have hunted for 25 years.
And then you stopped?
I stopped fox hunting, yes.
Why?
Can't hear you too well. I stopped fox hunting because of the cruelty that was involved with fox hunting. And it doesn't matter whether the hunting is with hounds, whether it's with terriers, recognised hunt terrier men, or men who own terriers. What we've just witnessed is completely and utterly unacceptable, and it should be completely banned. Mike Foster's bill on Friday, or the 28th of November, is to stop the killing of wild animals with dogs, and this is what it should be: stop killing with dogs.
Janet George, this is happening on the 28th of November, this wild mammal bill, to ban all forms of hunting with dogs. Do you think this is really, from your point of view, a rearguard action when we've got pictures like this, for example? As I said, I mean, we haven't, in actual fact, been able to show the more hideous pictures that we had.
There are a lot of hideous things being done to foxes by these baiting gangs, and as I say, it is already illegal. They're acting without the consent of the landowner. They're acting with intent to cause unnecessary suffering. It's gratuitous cruelty. It is already illegal under the Wild Mammals Protection Act of 1996. The problem is finding them and stopping them. And as I say, nobody seems to be interested in that. It is the same as the night coursers who go out on land hunting hares without permission, purely to entertain themselves. Call the police, they might arrive 3 hours later and they're long gone. The problem is not in the legislation. The problem is in enforcing the legislation in rural districts, big open spaces, maybe 2 policemen to 1,200 square miles. That's the problem.
Clifford Pellow, it's the legislation at the moment which is the problem. There are official terriermen who are blameless, and then there are those who it seems that nobody wants to actually go and track down.
Well, I don't know what you mean by official terriermen who are blameless. Hunt terriermen are not always blameless in the way that they deal with foxes. I've seen official terriermen hold a fox's mouth open with a spade so that they can put their hand on top and pull it out. I've also seen official terriermen cut a piece of barbed wire from a fence, make a loop on the end and twist it into the fox's fur so that they can pull it out. I've also seen official terriermen catch a vixen or a fox by its tail brush to pull it out, and the furry part of the brush is broken away and you've just left with the fox's bone sticking out. Now these are alleged official terriermen. I don't think there's anything less cruel whether you're official or unofficial. Terrier work is as barbaric as fox hunting itself.
Janet George, your response to that?
I think we have to remember that Mr. Pellow allegedly was part of a hunt where a lot of very nasty practices took place with Mr. Pellow's participation over a long period of time when it wasn't reported to the official bodies, it wasn't reported to any of the regulatory organisations. So I don't really pay a lot of credit to what Mr. Pellow says. But if you look at any form of pest control, it is not pretty. If you look at shooting, there's a risk of wounding. If you look at snaring, obviously there's a risk of slow strangulation. Any form of pest control, and earlier a speaker said a fox is not on a pest list. Well, that's absolute nonsense. The fox is one of the animals that if you don't control it on your land, your neighbouring landowners, if they lose sheep or poultry, can sue you. The fox is a pest. The fox has to be controlled. And the question is, how is it done? And what we're looking for with any form of pest control is a form of pest control that doesn't endanger the total population because you don't want extermination. You're looking at one that's regulated, that's out in the open, and you're also hopefully looking at a form of pest control that stands no chance of leaving a wounded fox to die a very slow and painful death. And hunting with hounds is the only form of pest control that meets all those criteria.
Well, as I said, the second reading of the Wild Mammal Bill goes in front of the House on the 28th of November. That's to ban all forms of hunting with dogs. So thank you very much to Janet George, and thank you also to Clifford Pellow. Thank you both very much.
It's 7:44 this morning.